Hello, Shaky here, and welcome back to Mine Mogul. In this episode, we're going to turn this... Hello, Shaky here, and welcome back to Mine Mogul. In this episode, we're going to try to start our build of our final base and get it all laid out so that we can start processing all the ore on the map. Okay, so the first thing I'm trying to debate is whether I have 2 floors or 4 floors. I have 4 casting machines laid out right now, so I can determine floor heights. So if I had 4 floors, that would be 1 floor for each material. Copper, gold, iron, and steel, but I don't know if I have enough room at the top to expand enough to fit all the machines up there. So the first thing we're going to do is basically build up to that level and put down a whole bunch of scaffolding and see how much room we have to work with. I'm going to try to keep my belts hooked up as long as possible so I can continue making money, because I'm going to spend a small fortune building this base. However, we do have 1.7 million, so I think we should be good for a while. But we're going to basically clear off some of this floor area here and make room for some scaffolding so we can kind of see what we're dealing with. Okay, this is where I'm thinking floor 1 will be, down here, and this is the second casting machine, third one, and fourth one. We can run there and take a look, but the fourth one gets pretty restrictive. So up here we have the fourth one, but the room gets very narrow up here. We're going to run into the ceiling quite a bit, so I think that's going to be too high. But let's go ahead and build out up here and see what happens. Alright, let's head on up and take a look. This is going to be the 4th floor. So this 4th floor would end up being this high right here. And it looks okay in the middle here, but there's not a whole lot of buildable space because as we get closer to the walls here, we run into the rocks here and we're not going to be able to build over here. And I plan on a pretty expansive factory, so I don't know if this is going to be enough room. And we run into, the walls over here too, so it's not very conducive to building 4 floors. I think we're going to go with 2 floors and just make it more expansive on the first 2 floors. So let's head down there, and we're going to set the floor height to be just higher than these miners, so that we can put these in the building, I think. So what we'll probably do is grab like the floor height here, and we could do it right there instead of the height we're at right now. And that way we'd be able to get on top of the miners. Okay, here is the extent of the 2nd floor that we have built. Or the 1st floor, depending on what part of the world you're from. But basically, this is the extent of it. We have 4 bays here, and then our 4 bays over here. So I could basically divide this in 2 and put 2 different materials on here. Do iron over here and copper over here, I think. And basically it comes down this way. It doesn't look as big as I thought it would, though, so we might not have enough room. But I guess we do have plenty of room to build that way. And then this will be the roof up there. This is basically the roof up here, where we'll probably do some sorting. We'll probably drop some materials down to the roof there and then sort them up top there. And then we will have down here the ground floor. So down here is the ground floor, and we can basically grab our wrench and get rid of these support columns. So I will go through and do that. But we're going to wait to build. We're going to build some walls next, basically to kind of start framing this in so we can get a feel for what we're dealing with. So this was just an experiment over here to see what we have. We have some windows we can build. We have some walls we can build. I put a light on the outside, and then this is the roof. We also have a metal roof we can do. So let's grab the walls. And we're basically going to come down here. I guess we can start deleting this stuff. Got a lot of extra wall up there, and there's no half-height wall, I don't think. Oh, there is. Nice. Okay. Perfect. There we go. So yeah, so that's next up. We're going to basically frame this in. Okay, in this building here, we're going to put the factory elements, basically. So we're going to have to put like the threaded rod machine in here. So we're going to need the threaded rod machine up here. And we're going to need more than one of these because they're pretty slow. We're going to need the regular rod machine. We're going to need the pipe maker. And we're going to need the plate maker. So we'll get those all set up, probably multiple of each in a row, and then over here we're gonna have a little casting facility where we put the casting thing and we make the iron or the ingots and the gears over here somewhere. Okay, it all starts with the casting machine right now. Eventually this one will have gears in it, but right now we're just doing all ingots just to try it out. So what we have to first do is run down here and put some stuff in the sorter. Let's grab a gold bar and we'll set that to go up to the roof. Let's check up here on the roof here. We're gonna need another gold bar in this one here, which we already have. Nice. So that's gonna route them into the casting machine down below. So that makes gold without coal, so that's good. And it basically just divides it up, 2, 2, and 2. So these two right now are just going back to the hub, to the pit. These two are going to the plates, and these two are going to the rods. So we can just follow them down here, see if the system works. I haven't tested it yet, so basically these are going to get turned into rods here, and these are going to get turned into plates. So basically splits it in half and half. Eventually we'll have a whole bunch more in these belts. It turns them into plates here. They get combined into one belt here, and then I just have one being routed up and over, which basically sends it down the way here and just sends it off to the pit. And the other one coming down here. That one gets sent down here, and these are routable, but so this one comes down here, and there's two pipe machines hidden under there, so it'll make pipes for us. These just come off the back here, down here and off into the pit for now. There's our first threaded rod. Nice, we can check out the rod thing real quick. The rod is basically, these are all routable, so you can basically, if I flip the switch here, it'll send them all the other direction. This wiper blade will come over here, and it'll just send them all down here, and this just sends them all back to the pit without being threaded. So the rod setup basically takes half the rods and sends them off, and just sends them off to the pit. The other half gets sent to the threading machines, and there's 4 different threading machines underneath here. And they just get sent up into here. This is kind of a walled off area in case it gets too busy. So it comes the threaded pipe, comes over here, onto the belt here, and off to the pit. So it does appear to be working. So this is my first iteration of it. We're going to basically update it as we go here. And these are easy to switch. If you just want to make all plates, you can just, flip this one over here. That moves the little wiper blade and just basically bypasses the pipe makers back here. And if you want to make them all pipes, you can just flip these both over here, and it'll send them both down to the pipe makers. So it's nice and customizable. Now we just got to focus on getting more ingots over here, but we're going to do that after we get the rest of the setup going. Okay, so we're basically going to copy this setup on 3 more times, 1 for copper, 1 for iron, and 1 for steel. And that way we will have 4 different setups going, so we can make all the missions at once. So we were able to get 1 more copy over here. This is going to be for copper, I believe. Had to do some funky stuff because there's a big rock in the way here. So we kind of had to merge our belts and go over some obstacles here. There's like a rock sticking up here that blocks the path here. So, and then this is basically a mirror image of the setup over here, with a couple exceptions. There is a rock in the way over here as well, poking through the ground. So that kind of got in the way, so we had to move some stuff around. All in all, it's basically the same. We have 1 rod maker, which I think is going to be a problem. Downstairs, I was able to add a second rod maker, which I think will work much better. So there's the regular setup here with the plates. This one looks nice and clean. I like this setup. And then we have the rod makers over here. It comes into a splitter. It goes into 2 rod makers, which should help keep up a little bit better. And then this goes into a router here, so we can toggle each pathway, whether we want them to go to the threading machines or to the pit. And that way we could either turn all the rods into just regular rods, all the rods into threading rods, or we could do half and half by setting one of these to bypass it and one of it to go straight down the middle. So next up, we're going to have to work on getting some ore in here to see how this all works. So we're going to go up top here, I think I'm just going to start bringing ore in and kind of laying out a pathway up here and just figuring out where we want to take the ore and how it's going to get there. So my first thought was something like this. It takes basically one line, divides it into 4 evenly, and then sends it up and stacks it on top of each other. So we have 4 conveyor belts on top of each other that are all evenly distributed. It looks pretty impressive, but it takes up a lot of space and it isn't really practical. Look, I'll show you. I did something that doesn't look quite as nice over here, but basically achieves the same results. It takes one belt, turns it into 4, and puts it in 4 different inputs inside the casting room. Same thing over here. This is for the copper. Puts it in 4 different spots in the casting room. We can take a quick peek down there. Basically it dumps one on this belt, one on this belt, one into the casting furnace, and one on that belt over there, which is just an ingot that goes back to the pit to be sold. So I think that's more practical. It saves a lot of real estate and it gives us more room to work with, because that's kind of prime real estate up there that we're going to need to be sorting and dealing with some gems and other stuff. So I think we're going to go with the less aesthetic version, which is this one here. Doesn't look as impressive, but it does the same job. And that'll free up this one over here so that we can sort some iron over here and figure out what we're going to do with that. So, looks nice, but see you later. And then finally for the iron here, we just have it divided out here into 4 belts here. It kind of falls off the edge here, goes into these chutes, and goes into these 4 conveyor belts that just travel along the back wall here. And they fall into the chutes down there, and they end up in the iron room here, in the iron casting room, and they all go to the different belts. One goes to the casting machine, one goes to this belt, one goes to this belt, and one goes to this top belt, which just goes right back to the pit. So I think we're finally ready to start bringing ore into the top of the facility. So we got plenty of room to work up here, so we can start bringing ore in and sorting it out. We'll have to sort gold from copper, from iron, and separate the coal out, separate the gems out, separate the geodes out. So a lot of sorting to do up here. Alright, first thing we're going to do is stretch out these lines. This is going to be the copper line, or maybe gold. We'll see how it ends up. I'm just going to stretch this back to the beginning here. This is where the chutes are going to come down from up top from the hole up here. Alright, before we head down and hook up some miners, let's put in a coal line real quick so that we can send coal down the line to make steel if we need to. And we're just going to put a line right here, off the end here. And we'll go up 2 with it, and then we'll run it down the line here. So then we'll run coal down this way. We just got to get it over to the steel, or to the iron smelter in the casting room, so that we can make steel if we need to. We're going to start bringing it down now. In fact, we probably want to bring it down a little bit earlier. Perfect, and then we can just drop it down here. Let's hopefully we can fit a chute in here. So unfortunately we cannot fit a chute in there. If it went in there, we could probably drop it inside the building. That would work actually. So we're going to take this we're going to take this out. We'll fill in the floor in a minute, but we'll put in a chute here. Yeah, and that'll put it down inside the building here, which will be right in line with where our coal needs to come in for the iron caster. Nice. So let's head back up top here. Of course that's going to block my pathway, so I'm going to have to put some more stairs in over here now. Alright, we'll get that cleaned up in a minute. Alright, let's get a sorter put in here so that we can sort off the coal if we need it. That way looks good. That should be fine. We just gotta wait till some coal comes up here and we can throw a piece of coal in there and we'll be good to go. So let's go take a look at the miners down below here. The miners down here. I hooked up the ones closest to us first, so basically we have an iron and a gem mine. And this one is iron, coal, and gems. So it's basically joining the belts up right here. I'm going to go into the sorter here, which basically sorts out the iron ore and the crushed iron. Go ahead and turn these on and see if the system starts to work here. Turn on that one. Turn on that one. So it's going to kick out iron. It's going to come in through here. Get sorted out. Go up the line here into the crusher. It's going to get crushed. Head up to the smelter and get smelted. And if it's anything but iron, so if coal comes through here or gems come through, it's going to go straight through the filter, straight through the sorter, and out the other side. Like here's a piece of coal coming through now. It goes on straight down here and it's going to come down the line here, snake its way over here, and join in with the smelter. So on this line here we'll now have iron ingots, coal, and gems. That's going to come over here and join in with these miners. So this is a coal and gem mine. These are iron and gems, and iron and gems. So we're basically going to come down here and go into this sorter here. We can turn these on now too, I think. So basically we're going to have all sorts of stuff on this belt here. So we're going to filter off what we want, not what we don't want. So what we want is the crushed iron and the iron ore. So that's going to come up into a smelt or a crusher and right into a smelter again. And the reason I'm doing smelters as often as possible is just so I can reduce the amount of physics objects on the screen. It takes 3 regular ore, which makes 6 crushed ore, which makes 1 ingot. So that basically we can take 3 objects and turn it into 1. So that helps reduce the amount of objects on the screen. So basically we have coal, iron ingots, and gems coming up this line here. That's going to come up to top here and join in with these miners up here. Which we can turn these on. These are going to get... Now this is a heavy miner, so it basically puts out clusters. So it's going to go into the cluster breaker right here, and then just be dropped down into the main belt down there, which is going to filter off the iron again and just smelt it and send it back up the line here. This one right here filters off the iron and the crushed iron from that one. Just sends it through the crusher, which doesn't really do anything. It just passes it through and sends it out the other side. So as we have iron ingots, coal, and gems coming out this line here. And it's going to come up in here into our main line up here, which is gets sorted up there. And I can't sneak up there, so we're going to have to go the long way. I've been working on building some stuff here just to make it look nicer. A little metal roof and some windows. Kind of a work in progress. Let's head up to the top here. And see where it all comes in at. So right now it all comes in right here. So up here we have iron ingots, coal, and gems coming through. So what we need to do is grab a piece of iron from here and stick it in here. Let's just follow the iron along, make sure it's working. So the iron's coming down this line here, goes into our 4 belt sorting system here, basically just distributes them evenly between 4 different belts. So we already have a problem here of what's going on here. So it looks like we put these hatches a little too low, so let's just raise them up a little bit. I think that should fix it. We'll put down one of these, and I guess we'll put down the bottom hatch maybe. If I can get in there. That looks good. I just gotta grab these and just throw them back up there. Anyways, those look good down these lines here. Dump down to here, hopefully. Nice, looks good. Now it should come over here. Get dumped into the separate lines. Should probably put hatches on these too so they don't overflow. So yeah, it all looks good. Let's go follow it along and see if it's going to the factory. So this got backed up a little bit, but that's just because I dumped a whole bunch in at once. These are already backed up to over here. That's looking good. This looks really good. And this looks pretty good up here. Alright, let's check our missions real quick, see what we're working towards. We have pipes that we need to get done, so these are iron pipes we're working on. So we don't have any of those right now, so I'll have to check out why we don't have any iron pipes right now. That's kind of weird. And then we have this one, which is iron threaded rods, copper threaded rods, and gold threaded rods. So we just gotta get iron, copper and gold coming in. This one I think is not doing it because it's not activated. So let's activate that one. That should get us iron pipes going right away. And we can just leave this turned off because right now this feeds all the rods to the threaded setup, which is just fine. If we flip the switch, it would switch it over. That just bypasses the threading machines, but we don't want that right now, so let's leave it on. I'll send everything up here, get it threaded, over here, and over to the pit. Alright, so we just got to get some more stuff being delivered here. So let's go upstairs and see. I have some ingots ready to be delivered. I just got to hook up the rest of the belts. So this line right here coming in is mostly from the copper mine. So we could probably hook this up real quick. And we're going to turn it. Run it down one. And we'll put a sorter in. That'll filter off the copper. The rest of it will be either gems or coal coming through, or whatever else we hook up to that line. And I guess we'll just, for now, send it over to the sorter here. I feel like this is going to get gemmed up pretty quick though, but we'll see. Alright, so I revised that step just a little bit. We just turn it here to avoid this connection here because that's going to get backed up totally right there. So it's already sorted by this point, so it's going to go straight to the pit over there, dump into our chute, and over here we've got a couple of sorters in case we need to sort something else off. For now we're just going to grab this one here and bring it over. This will be the copper. And that line should be good to go turn on, so let's go turn it on. And same deal here, it gets smelted before it goes back to the main base. And also I believe back here we have some separate iron mines that have been hooked up top here. Got these two here. Alright, so we just need to grab a copper ingot from here and throw it in this machine. And that'll direct the copper down there. We'll be making copper. And before we go find gold, I want to make an adjustment to the iron, because right now, like, we're just dividing it and making everything equally. But I'd like to make it so that I can adjust it so that if I need more plates, I can make all plates. If I need all rods, I can make all rods. So we're going to bring it down here as all one belt instead of 4 belts. And then we're going to put it into a splitter down here, so that we can kind of separate it out down here. So this just divides it into 4 even belts here. And we're going to put a ledge on there to make sure it converts over to the chutes. And then like on this one here, we're going to put in a routing conveyor. So we can just come through and toggle this if we don't want it to go. We'll say this one goes over to the casting furnace. So that one goes over to the casting furnace. And if we don't want, which just basically just makes ingots and gears. So let's say we don't want that. All we have to do is come down here and flip the switch, and we'll just route this back over to the start, and it'll just dump them back in and get resorted. Something like that. So it's going to sort them twice and create a little bit of a circular loop, but I think it'll be fine once it gets flowing. It'll divide them equally out between each belt, and if we don't want that belt, we'll just recycle it back into the input. So that one will go here, this one will have to go down here. Right now we only really need 3. So one there. I can take care of this one here. And we'll just route that one back into the belt over here. I'll put a merger in right there. And then this one here, since we only need 3 inputs, this one can automatically be rerouted back to the start. Like so. And then we just need another splitter down here. Like that, and then we'll just put some mergers in here. Like that. And that way now, if we want to make more ingots, all we have to do is come through and turn these. If we want to make all ingots, we'll just flip the switch over. Might be hard to get to in this spot here, but and we can switch this one over. And that way we just route them all back to the beginning, and the only one that path would be open would be this one here. And there, it should all go up this way. Let's test it out real quick. So now we're just going to take this belt out so they drop down to there, and then we'll get rid of all 4 of these chutes and just make it into one chute. So they all go deliver down to here, but let's just see how this works. So that one got routed over, so it's going to go right back to the start. This one's going to get routed over to here. And that one should go back to the start as well, because it's not. So that could get jammed up, it looked like a little bit, but. And eventually they'll all start flowing this way into the ingot maker. Let's revise this to make it all one belt, and we'll see if we overflow the system. So we come up top here, and let's just get rid of all this splitting up here, and we'll just put it in one belt. And we can get rid of this. Get rid of this and this. Something like that, and I'll come back through and delete all this. But let's just send it all down one path. It'll come down to here, down this last chute here, I guess. So we actually want to move this to the other chute. So we'll just throw a chute in here, make it all go down one. That should come down to here. We'll put in a bottom chute down here. There's some fill-ins. Fill in the chute here. Yeah, let's run in there and see how it's working. So right now they're all set to go down up this ramp over here. So they're going to kind of circle around, and there's going to be a lot of them left in circulation, but I think eventually they'll all make it over to here. But yeah, now we can always customize it, so then if we want to make both of them, we just come down here. And we can switch this direction here. And then all of a sudden we'll be making rods and ingots. And if we want all 3 of them, we can just open all 3 of them. And we'll be making all of them. Nice, I like it. Alright, so I think that's doing the job. This one has a little bit of trouble here. Sometimes one jumps over it because it's so close to the ledge there, but we'll fix that later. We'll see once we put more ingots on how much of a problem it becomes. Let's check out the copper real quick. We don't have a whole lot of copper coming in, so it's probably not going to be very active right now. Yeah, so we barely have any copper coming in. You can see it down here coming through here. So it looks like it's working for now. What we gotta do is just go out and find more ore and get it all delivered to the factory so we can start testing this stuff and, you know, stress testing the system to see how it can handle a whole bunch of ore. So that's gonna do it for this episode. Next episode we'll go on the hunt for some more mines and basically get a whole bunch of ingots delivered to the factory. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.